Greetings everyone, welcome to Chess Advance. This game was played in clutch champions. Here with the black pieces we have the current reigning world champion Gukesh Dommaraju facing off against world number 3 Fabiano Caruana. So with the sound of it, I mean, this is going to be an epic matchup. And the thing is that Gukesh is on a top streak. He's actually beaten Hikaru Nakamura in the round 2, and now in round 3 he's facing world number 3. So this is going to be a really nice matchup. So without further ado, let's start with this game. Here Fabi starts with c4. We have e5. This is the king's English variation, and we have g3, and now just knight to f6, bishop to g2, h6. And something in my gut tells me that this is definitely preparation by Gukesh. Gukesh somehow knew that this variation is going to be played by Fabi. I don't think so it's something that Fabi doesn't play that very often. It's something that Fabi definitely plays, and definitely this is preparation by Gukesh. A knight to c3, bishop to b4, e4 now, and here just d6, and we have knight g to e2. And the thing is that if you look at the score of Gukesh against Fabi, I mean, Fabi has always trembled at the sound of, when it comes to establishing actually wins against Gukesh, because if you look at the track record ever since he lost actually a lot of games in St. Louis Rapid and Blitz as well, and if you count prior to that, since the Olympiad, he managed only draws and losses. There wasn't even a single win. Only win he got was in St. Louis Rapid and Blitz, and that was a Rapid game if I'm not mistaken. Then after that he went on to actually draw both games, and the last result between them was actually a draw. But I think if we check the score, I think Gukesh could be better, or it could be equal. But still, I mean, I've seen him actually not perform that really well. Maybe some people's style is actually opposite of some other people's style, because Gukesh really likes to take risks, and maybe that doesn't go that very well with Fabi. But it could be anything else as well. But here just knight to c6, and now here h3 and just a6 in this position. You could have also chosen to go for castles in this position. A6 is just delaying castling basically, and asking Fabi the question, what are you going to do with the white pieces? Castles, you play bishop to d7, d3 you play bishop to c5, knight to a4 attacking the bishop, and just bishop to d4 because you don't want that to ruin your pawn structure. And if you capture on d4, e captures b3, and just maintaining the fianchetto, basically getting the bishop fianchettoed. And after this you just go for this knight to e5, and f4 is definitely going to be on the radar. Knight to g6, it looks scary, and Engineer is giving it a roughly 0.5, but it should be fine. But after h3 here a6 was played, just delaying casting, and just a3 pushing the bishop back, bishop to c5, and now just comes b4, even pushing the bishop further back. So bishop all the way back to a7. And this bishop, I mean, we always say, I mean, that bishop, it's better to just somewhere along the line play d3 just straight off that bishop. It's going to be really good, because otherwise if that bishop gets in full flow, it's the most powerful piece that will be in your camp. A d3, and now just comes this knight to d4. We have bishop to e3, and now just going for c6. So Gukesh delaying the trade of the bishop, and the dark square bishop well eyeing against the king is a good bishop, and this is on the other hand not really that good. But still, as long as it's opposing, it's supposed to be decent. Here just castles, king to h2, now just comes b5, pushing the pawns all the way, but just f4 in this position. I mean, f4, Fabi is definitely eyeing a win. He has not had a decent day, to say the least, because first against Hikaru he lost the first game, then he came back, won the second one, and then he played against Magnus. And I mean, against Magnus, Fabi against Magnus is always the one to watch out for. But the thing is that he had many chances to win against Magnus, and literally on the last 14 years, since 2014, ever since the Singapore Cup, he has gotten all those chances. Combine that into one day, and I think this will be the day that he got that many chances in 2 matches against Magnus, but he was not able to convert. And on top of that, just to add fire to the fuel, he actually lost the last round, and that would have felt absolutely terrible for Fabi. Feel for him, but I mean, chess is brutal that way, really. But hey, just bishop to g4 is a beautiful move in this position. I mean, just throwing the bishop to your opponent's face and saying that you want to capture it, well, go right ahead. And really, you cannot capture it. Hey, just bishop caps on d4 was played. E captures knight to b1, and now just going for b captures on c4, saying, well, my bishop is still hanging, by the way, if you want to capture it to Fabi. But definitely not something you want to do to the world number 3. Hey, D captures on c4 was played, not falling for it. But the thing is that you should move it away. Just move the bishop to h5 and you should be fine. Queen to d3, you play c5, and after knight to d2, just bishop caps on e2, and after queen captures, you play rook to e8, and after rook f to e1, just queen to c7. Position is supposed to be fine at least. But here after d caps on e4, rook to e8 was played, hanging it for the third time in a row. And now that begs the question that, is Fabio really going to capture it and allow some things that he should not, or is it absolutely okay to capture that bishop? Well, the engine is giving it as a +1 evaluation, which is not that much, but still a pretty good, decent one, considering the fact that it's only move 17. Here, h caps on g4 was played. Now just comes this knight captures on g4, immediately jumping in, but here just king to h1. And the only logical sense towards all of this madness of getting the bishop to g4, that you want to play this knight to e3 to fork the rook and the queen and to get the exchange, right? Supposed to be that only, but Gukesh had something else in mind. In this position, he doesn't go for this, he goes for the attack, because he sees that the bishop is eyeing all the way through and not letting the king to g1. And now what he does is he plays queen to f6, followed with the idea of queen to g6 to queen to h5, and that would be really, really bad. So here in this position, just queen to d3 was played. Queen to d3 is not the optimal move. The move that you want to play is knight to d2, but still, it's a rapid game. You're not going to find all the best ideas. Queen to d3, now just comes queen to g6, and here bishop to h3, not allowing this to come with a check. And here the move that you can play in this position, although Gukesh did play the best move in this position, sorry to spoil it for you, but I will show it to you later. Here d5 you could have gone for, and d5 is a spectacular move. C captures, knight to d2 if you decide to go for just connecting rooks. Here just rook 8 to c8, and after queen to f3 you play rook to c2, and after this bishop caps on g4. White is better, but finding all of these moves in a single game, in a single day, when it's the last round, you've played double round robins, it's not even a great thought. It just d caps on e4, and after f5, yes, you have to include this move. This is the crucial part. Here after queen to c6, now you play this knight caps on e4, rook captures, and only then you can understand that this is how you can be better in this position, with that capturing the sacrifice. But after this bishop to h3, here rook captures on e4 was played by Gukesh, and immediately as I saw this move, I understood that this is an invitation to draw. I mean, he did get the black pieces in the first round. He was supposed to get the white pieces because he had the black pieces in the last round, but still, maybe a draw would be fine here, and the draw would have occurred. I'll show you. Bishop caps on g4, queen captures, queen caps on e4, and here in this position just queen to h3 check, and once you go king to g1, d3 check. And now you can see that knight to d4 is just an automatic response to all of this, and then you just capture this, allow this, and just go for the threefold repetition, give constant checks in this position, and the game should be a draw. Because obviously you can never block with the queen, because you can understand that bishop captures would lose a piece, so you have to be careful about that. But obviously no one is going to fall for that. But what happens if you go rook to f2? Well, that is a clear blocking chance, but you can see the engine evaluation shifting. D caps on e2 is completely winning, because the move that you want to find, queen caps on e2, and after queen caps on g3 check, you play king to f1, queen to h4, and after rook to h2, queen captures on f4, king to g2, and you have queen to g5 check. So you can continue to harass the king until you can get the rook into the game with the tempo, and the bishop is doing a very fine job of cutting everything off, and you have the advantage in this position. And even if you're able to connect it once, maybe to get some material, that would be absolutely spectacular as well. But material is not something that you're after is white king. So here after d3 check, none of this was played. I mean, you think of these moves as the only moves in this position, but Fabi thought different. He actually goes for c5, and c5 does not work in this position at all. And it's not like Fabi did not have the time to calculate all of these moves. He was actually up on the clock, and he was up 2 more minutes than Gukesh, and Gukesh was already down to his last seconds. And here he goes for d captures on e2. That is the best move in this position. Queen captures on e2, d captures on c5, queen to g2, asking for a trade. If you trade, well, it's not going to be at all good, but as you can see that easily. But here after c captures on b4, you have counterplay rook to f2, and now in this position the move that you want to play is queen to f5. Yes, this is the only move that can get you advantage, because after knight to d2, an only move in the sense that can give you 3.3 level of advantage. Obviously you can get some other by playing the move that Gukesh played. Here after queen to c2, now you play king to f1, bishop caps on f2. Obviously the pin has been removed, so you want to capture it. Queen caps on f2, and after this rook to e8, you play a captures on b4, queen to d3 check. And I mean, if you're really greedy, you will capture this. If you're not greedy, what you'll do is just get the king to safety, but let's just say we take greed into account. So a caps on b4, queen to d3 check, king to g1, and rook to e2 will win you a piece, will win you back the piece that you actually sacrificed. And the game would go on with the black being absolutely better, already up a pawn, queen is guarding it, cannot capture it, your king is still stuck in the center, and yeah, this is not the position you would definitely want to have. But here after rook to f2, queen to e6 was played, and queen to e6 was not the move that I think Gukesh had anticipated, and if he had like 5-10 more seconds on his clock, he would have found the correct idea. But the thing is that he was down to his last like 10 or 5 seconds, and in that you're not going to find always the right idea. But he just king to h2, and now bishop caps on f2. I told you, pin removed, you have to capture. Queen caps on f2, b3 now, and b3 is a very nice attempt to actually, try and to create possibilities of a win in this position, and that's the only way I can put it. Because hey, knight to c3 now just comes to rook to d8. You want to get the rook into the game as much as possible, because you have the 3 pawns for the knight, so you have enough compensation. So it's a +1 advantage for you. But let's just see where it goes. Rook to e1, we have queen to c4 now, and if you're able to actually, if you can get it, I mean, that would be the only way, because the thing is that +1 advantage seems decent, but the thing is that king is still weak. I still have the pass pawn. You have to calculate a lot, and Fabi did have to calculate a lot in this position. And the move that you want to find in this position to be able to try and survive is knight to e4. And unfortunately for Fabi, he was very much on the clock as well, and after rook to d5 you played g4. That's how you create counterplay for yourself, because you want to block the queen off, and then maybe after rook to d4 the game goes on from there. But still, it's a long shot. But here rook to c1 was played by Fabi, and you can see the engine valuation shifting. Here rook to d3 now, and you cannot capture obviously here now after the move that Fabi played, queen to e2, and here just c5. Not the most accurate move, but still it gives you the advantage. Hey, queen to e8 check, king to h7, and now just going for this, queen captures, knight captures, but now just comes c4, and here in this position rook captures on c4. b2, it seems like you're drawing rook to b4, but now just comes to rook to d4. And the thing is that the move that you want to play in this position is not at all easy, because you want to find this knight to c3, just trying to protect the queening square, and you're fine after that. Rook caps on b4, you play this a captures, and yes, I have those 2 pawns, and but knight is going to be stuck guarding the queening square, so I can just move over, and I can maybe just hold this position to a drop. But black will still be better even after you're a piece up. But still, here rook captures on b2 was played, and this was the blunder that lost the game for Fabi, because here rook captures on e4, and now this endgame, I'm up a pawn. I'm not up just a pawn, I'm up a crucial pawn. Here rook to b7, now just comes f6, rook to b6, rook to a4, and rook to b3 was played. But Fabi maybe here realized after playing all of these moves and getting his time on the clock that this position, this endgame is lost. King to g6, now this comes king to g2, king to f5, king to f3, and h5 was played. Rook to c3, rook to a5, and now just comes rook to d3, g6 even, but here rook to c3, rook to d5, now a4, and here just a5. We have rook to b3, rook to c5, just playing waiting moves, getting their time on the clock, and here after rook to d3 finally pushing with the right idea, g5. And now this is a winning game. No matter what you do here, this is completely winning. Here f captures, now just comes rook to d8 to harass the black king from the behind, but it's not going to work out. Here just g4 check, king to e3, rook to c3 check, and now just going for king to f2, rook to f3 check. Gukesh played this move with 2 seconds on his clock, king to g2, and rook to a3, now just going after the a4 pawn, but you're going to lose the a5 pawn. Here rook to d5 check, king to e4, rook caps on a5, rook to a2 check, king moves forward, but here just king to f3, rook caps on h5 was played. But the thing is that it's not about pawns, it's about your king. King caps on g3, now this is going to be a checkmate. You have to be careful, but comes this rook to f5 guarding it, but that is the blunder. Here rook to a1, now just comes this rook to f1, but Gukesh with only 5 seconds on his clock realizes that the endgame is completely winning. He goes for rook captures on f1, and here after king captures, now in this position, king to h2, a5, g3, a6, g2, and here Fabiano Caruana resigned the game, and Gukesh got this spectacular victory because he's queening first. Now he can go back, and then your pawn gets captured, and slowly you just get checkmated. And he won this game in a spectacular manner. First to win against Hikaru, second against Fabi. Definitely here he's on a roll. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'll be coming back with some of these amazing games, so stay tuned to the channel, stay updated, and I'll be seeing you guys very soon. Thank you very much for watching.